Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to this week's edition of Artist Alchemy, where we talk to artists and find out about that special magic they do, taking kind of the everyday and turning it into something special. And we've got a really special show this week because we have not one, not two, but three guest artists to talk about creating art during the crazy time of COVID. So we look forward to exploring that subject. So let me do a quick round of introductions, if I may. First off, Tina Linville. Tina's an artist, an arts educator. She's currently the YubaSutterArts&Culture's artist in residence, and she's also running our art mentorship program. You'll hear more about shortly. Um, Joe Moye, no stranger to the community, the arts community, both as a musician, an actor, and another arts educator, sharing his love of the arts with young people. And last but certainly not least, our good friend Tom Galvin, psychotherapist, composer, poet, musician, and our current musician in residence at YubaSutterArts&Culture. So welcome to you all.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's kind of run through it in that order, and just as a quick kind of warm up, the big elephant in the room kind of question: how are you all doing? How are you coping during the time of COVID? Tina, you want to kick it off?
Sure. I am doing okay. In some ways, it's good as an introvert. I have more time. But it seems that it's easy to fill the time with everything online now, so I get just booked just as quickly. But I'm doing okay.
Great, Joe.
I'm hanging in there. I mean, my gig is mostly in-person live stuff, so COVID's really put a cramp on what I do. But my wonderful wife is sticking with me and stuff, and we're gonna work it out. So.
And Tom.
Doing well. I'm the other side of the coin, Tina. I tend to be extroverted. It might not be obvious, but yeah, I think that there are some moments when where's my crowd? But it's kind of my crowd. My audience is gay, my wife, and I'm her audience as well, and. So there's a lot of music that's happening in my house, and obviously we've been doing a lot of stuff online. So I'm keeping my spirits up, even though I'm anxious to get back out and about when it's safe to do so.
That's great. I was really looking forward to this conversation today because it just begs that question. What about art? What's its place? During any kind of a personal, or in this case, the global crisis we're all dealing with, and how do we cope with it, both as an audience member or viewer of that art, and from your perspective as creative artists, creating art, and how does that all load up into the present day reality? And as I think I wrote in the press release, or maybe one of you thought of it, but it's you've been given a bunch of lemons. What do? You make lemonade, right? And you're certainly great examples of that. I'd like again to ask each of you, how you've adapted your creative output during COVID. How has it impacted your productivity? Or we've talked to some artists who have had a lack of productivity, but for a period of time, and then they come back to their art, and suddenly that creative process gives them new vim and vigor. What about each of you? Tom, you want to start this time? And
I don't feel like it's been a complete day if I don't at least try to create something, and that's been happening all through the pandemic. I've just finished a short story. I've got a collection of short stories I'm going to put together and hopefully have it in time for the delayed. We were going to, when I wrote the book, we were going to have a book signing and a little entertainment at the place, and that got postponed. So I'm hoping to have two books now when the world opens back up. So
Sure.
That and music. Joe and I have been working on the COVID show. Then we've got the Christmas show coming up, which Gay is currently tearing her hair out trying to organize sound. So much going on. for me, it's not, I don't wait for inspiration now. I have projects that I try to work on. If I'm going to write a comedy song today, then it could be awfully bad, but I'll do it till the end, then I'll throw it away. To me, it's not waiting for something. It's to inspire. It's not to wait for inspiration, but to just do the work. And so, yeah, enough of me. I'm passing the torch.
So your approach has been to just press on, tough it out, push through.
Yeah, it's
who you are.
It's a discipline, the art's a discipline, and I try to be disciplined. Songwriting is a discipline. So I don't know, an artist, there's times when I feel like I'm creating something can be called art, but it's certainly not the kind of visual presentation that Tina can do. That's just so immediately striking. And so mine's a little bit more laborious. A 19-page short story took me about 3 months to write. So it's just, I'm going to write so much today, and I might throw half of that out tomorrow, but it's just going to be kind of like going to the office. Well, I'm in my office and I see clients here, and I also do my work. It's going to the office, doing the work today, and then going on with it. To have that attitude toward it, whether there's a pandemic or not, has been helpful to me.
And Joe, I didn't mention when I went through your list of accolades, you're also a noted chalk artist in the community. You've truly made a mark with that project. But how are you? Yeah, how does all your art manifest during these crazy times?
Well, I am definitely not like Tom, and actually the whole art thing. Jeff Graham has a Facebook album that we stored all the images in, and if you look at it, you can see that I have become a chalk artist in the pandemic. Yeah. When I started, I was just a duffer out there. I wasn't doing anything, and my last few pieces are like, dang, that's pretty good.
Gorgeous. So, well, you're the head of
so yeah, it's
reality. We're going to do a chalk art festival, and you're going to be in charge. We'll help you.
I think that would be good.
I would love it. I would love it. And then the right at the beginning in March, I started. I just wrote a parody of a song. Me and lyrics and stuff. They just pour out of me all the time. And I started rearranging the lyrics of songs, and my Facebook fans just took off with it. And that's where the COVID show, what we're going to do this Sunday, came from. It's a collection of those songs. And I can do like Tom, because we decided we needed another new one. And I had the title Return to Slender. And just messing around with it, and literally wrote it because I needed it. So Tom got to hear it yesterday. I was pretty tickled. But yeah, so I let it happen. It happens. Art happens.
Art happens. That's perfect. That's perfect. Tina, what about you and your personal artistic output? I mean, I know a lot of your week goes to teaching, but how's it impacted you?
Yeah, I like the question, and it's something I think about. The first thing I think about is I've been working at home a lot more than going to the studio. So the work I'm making is smaller. I'm in my home studio right now, which is just a bedroom in my house, lots of books, my loom. So I've been doing a lot more like fibery stuff, like crocheting and weaving. So some of the activities I do are the more clean, quiet, at home type activities. And typically I do the messier stuff like casting and playing with messy materials and putting things together at the studio. So what I've been making is smaller. I've been making a lot of variety of things. I've been doing a lot more like weird stuff, like weird to me. Like I started a mail blog, which is like a zine. So I make using my printer and like photocopying and scribbling over the top of things. I've been making these little magazine things that I send out to people that opt in for a subscription. And I've been doing that since June. I've done 4 volumes. I don't know. It's just for fun.
Can we get information about how to link to that?
If you get on my Instagram, you can. I mean, I'm accepting subscribers. It's totally free. I just think it's a cool thing. It's like a cross between like how like a Christmas letter, you talk about like your life and you send it to people. It's kind of like a little bit journal, a little bit like weird art that there's all these things that I do as part of my art making
Mhm.
that you don't necessarily see it in the sculpture at the end of the day, but it's kind of part of my process. So I've been kind of throwing that kind of stuff mixed in.
Cool.
It's been really fun to make. So just
Little
weird
bit of
stuff.
art and memoir and other things. Yeah.
It's visual, definitely not a lot of text, but it's a weird thing I've started doing. I've been collaborating with my students a lot more than I usually do. Like, so the teaching and life is all blurring together.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
So you've continued to be productive. So is the work that you're creating, is it created more for you or for an audience?
It's both. I mean, I don't know how to separate those things. I mean, for me, in my brain, I think that people and humans are creative. So we're all artists in some sense of the word. However, not all of us choose art as our vocation, as our career. And for me, part of the choice of art as a career means that there's this presenting the work to a public. So the viewer and presenting the work to others is also a really important part of it, and being responsible to that audience and thinking about that. That's part of it for me, but you can't help it. There's something about making. It's part of, for me, being healthy. It's part of being human and whole. So, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Totally agree. Totally agree with that. That art is biological imperative for me. I have to be involved in making something that wasn't there at the beginning of the day, in some way, and hoping it adds a little bit more to my surroundings and maybe goes out a little further than that. And I also totally agree about connecting with people. We work in the privacy of our studios or offices or whatever, but the intention is, at least it's a communicative thing. Art is communicative by its nature. So a sender and a receiver, to be mindful of the impact it might have. There could be nobody, but or 10 or 1,000, but to be respectful of whoever tunes in to what you're trying to produce is to be disciplined, to say, I want this to be the best it can be, whether I know who my audience is going to be or not. I want to communicate something I'm proud of. So yeah, I agree with everything Tina said, with everything you said.
Okay.
And you like the audience feedback, Joe. I mean, right? It's a lot different doing a show virtually than being on stage and, hearing the.
It's hard.
Right?
It is hard. I mean, I probably have to use more acting skills doing Zoom stuff or StreamYard stuff than I do if I'm actually there in front of them, because I have to act like they're there and I have to act like they're responding, the young children. So I have to pretend to myself that when it's almost like, the plate spinner guy, you're spinning 2 plates and now suddenly you have to spin 3. So it's a little harder.
Oh, I like it. So there's,
but
go ahead.
I wanted to speak to what Tina said. I know my bike rides and stuff, which the art has become therapy for me through the pandemic, because I use the bike and the chalk art and stuff to help keep me sane. And I know that when I'm out on the like heading out towards the Sutter and the Buttes and stuff, that bike path, there are some times when I literally have to stop the bike just to look at what the beauty there. And there's that moment where you forget about everything but what you're looking at. And I think that's what you're talking about, that transcendence where you can let the art part of it take you away from all the stuff that drives you crazy. And for a moment, you're at peace with something beautiful. And I think that's what art means to me. So.
Well, that's beautiful. Well, you've kind of answered, part of the next thought I had to discuss, which is, and who benefits the most, the artist or the viewer or audience member? And it's certainly a mutual experience, but from what you just said, it can be a powerful therapeutic for the artist, and we certainly know that to be true. So, I thought about this in preparing for this conversation, and I've read a lot about this year, like I'm sure you all have, about the therapeutic aspect of art. And I thought, that almost seems trite. We've kind of heard that before, and I mean, not really. And I don't mean to demean that in any way, but help me understand that. I mean, you've all kind of touched on it already during the conversation, but the idea of art as therapy. I mean, is it necessary for survival, like food and shelter? And I think arguably it could be for a lot of us. But any thoughts on that? The therapeutic aspect.
Well, I'm a therapist, and so maybe
I'm an artist.
Well, at times, and so I might have a few comments about it. As a therapist, to elevate mood, to reduce anxiety, I'm strategically oriented. The how-tos, exploring your history is always part of any good therapy, but to dwell on the history as opposed to fixing what the problem is in the present, I don't find very useful. And so art that's therapeutic seems to me it should be informed by some degree of an understanding of the autonomic nervous system, the involuntary nervous system. So much of what we do is involuntary. All our organs are acting on their own, independently keeping us alive. And there's times when they're aroused, for better or for worse, emotionally aroused, fearfully, joyfully. However, when there's an arousal, that can be a good thing or a bad thing. If it's a bad thing, some intervention to diffuse the power of, to reduce the power of that feeling. But if it's a joyful one, then I think we get into the area of art. And I'm not saying that we can't say, write, or draw sad things. I'm saying if it's going to be therapeutic for us to somehow affect our central nervous system in positive, beneficial ways, so that good things are happening to every organ in our body, and it's a very, anything we do artistically, to think of how it's affecting our organism. And if I've had people who journal, and they journal thousands of pages, and they expect me to read 100 before we even get started with a 50-minute session. And they're just making themselves crazier, because they're just saying, and then I have this horrible thought, and then I think this about myself, and then I think I'm such a loser. And it's like, when do you reframe? And when do you start to talk back to the stinking thinking? And we can do that with our art too. We can drag ourselves down with raking our emotions through the mud. But and to express difficult emotions is fine, but are you doing it with imagery? Are you using form? Are you using structure? Are you doing something to contain your emotion rather than to just spill them? And so I'm probably getting too much into this, but I think when we say it's therapeutic, I have to ask, under what conditions and how consciously are you applying some sense of therapeutic strategy or usefulness or how-tos to transforming emotions through art? Probably
Good.
enough. I'm going to back
it.
off. Tina, you might. Tina, you look like.
I'm processing what you're saying. It's really interesting to hear it articulated that way to me. When I think about art and therapy, I think a lot of people. I think art is a complex animal, and for me as an artist personally, art and therapy, the first thing that I think about is like, I use art a lot as a person to process. I use art as a tool to process. I think through making, I think with my hands. It's like a tool for me to process what's happening around the world, what's happening in the world, what's happening in my life, in all these personal spaces, and also just like process philosophy and so I think art as a tool to process is a way that I think about art therapy in terms of my own work. And I resonate with sort of what you're saying. We don't have a lot of awareness about ourselves, and art is a way to build that. Like I can't even imagine a better way. Well, I don't know. Being an artist and becoming better and better at what you do as an individual artist and building your art practice is one of the coolest ways to like build self-awareness about why you're doing what you're doing. Because as an artist, like we have all these tools, everything we're making is intention. It can be, and it's all these parts that if everything is coming together, coming from a place of intention, the power of that is so big and immense. That's the game. That's the thing. We're trying to build our awareness so that all the parts can build and contribute to this whole that's doing something. I like to think about art as doing something. It's this active thing. And I think about it, making art is this cycle of looking, thinking, making, looking, thinking, making, and it's not linear. It's all messy, but it's all those things activated at the same, all the time. And of course it's therapeutic. How could it not be? Like
when you said powerful, I think that was a word that you used, is it can be a profound thing, whatever it is. But and my increased sense of how I want to go is if I'm creating something that comes together and makes me feel like this is good, this is working, there's a hole here, there's an organism that's unfolding. I want to really feel what I think is a power inside my chest, in my stomach. I just want to know when something's resonating as significant, and it's palpable, it's tactile for me. And I think that's when I know I'm onto something. And I think that translates to therapy as well. You can talk about concepts and ideas, but if you can't find some experiential way to get to the insides of how you use this technique to change, can we try to do that in therapy? Can we make that a real life experience right now? That's when it's experienced, it's gotten, it's internalized. And so that same thing with our art. When do we internalize what's going on to where our sense that something good is matching our internal bodily response that something's good, and it's making us feel positive so that we want to continue? I think that's when we get into a zone. Whatever they talk about with the zone, I think that's it. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. Oh, good stuff. Is it okay that it feels good to sing?
Oh, yes, it does. I was actually thinking. I was thinking about laughter myself, honestly, because that's kind of what Tom and I are bringing to the table this time around. The whole point of the COVID parodies was to make people laugh, and I know there's tons of research on the power of laughter and how it can change, can change your whole mood. A good laugh suddenly makes you feel good. Your body feels tingly. It's a good belly laugh will do you for a week at least. So.
Well, I quoted you on that, Joe. Here's a quote from Joe: "Laughter may not cure what ails you, but it just can't be that dark when there's laughter." And you can quote me on that, said Joe Moye.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's great. That's true.
Yeah. So that's my therapy bit. I'm not anywhere as learned as Tom in that, but it is true that the laughter part, if you're laughing, it's really hard to be down. So
Here.
Yeah.
Let's get into talking a little bit about what you all are bringing to the community here this next week and for several weeks thereafter. But I think we can all agree that art is necessary to bring joy, to bring wonder, to bring that glimpse of hope during this time that's so challenging and difficult. So let's jump right in. Tina, talk about this incredible dual venue art gallery exhibit you've curated called COVID Stories, Making Art in a Pandemic. Tell us more about your inspiration, the participants, and how we see the show.
Yeah. So it's really connected to just my life and what's happening. And one of the things that's a big part of my life right now is this mentorship program. So working with artists in the community, helping them individually to build their work, and trying to imagine how we can make the benefit of the program as big and wonderful as possible, and trying to, in meeting with them, what we do is we meet individually and then we get together as a whole group and have art conversations with our work, wearing masks, distanced in a gallery, but we get together and we have, in art school, we call it a critique, but it's basically just a conversation. And getting to have these moments with other people in proximity to them and see their work and talk about art and see and try to articulate in the messy way that we do together, what is happening? What is this art doing? I wanted to open up the amazingness of being able to do that in this time in particular to other people. So allowing the conversations that are happening with our work to be opened up to a broader public has been kind of an inspiration, as well as just, I'm a consumer right now of so much. I mean, there's everything is a panel that I can go to now. I don't have to go to LA. It's on my computer. So I listen, I go to all the, I'm doing way more than before because the distance isn't stop. You know, I'm basically, I might as well be in LA because I can do all this stuff in a different way now. So I'm just engaging with art in a way and listening to how artists are tackling these problems, paying attention. And I want those conversations to come here where I am living physically, you know, so kind of inspired by some of those things. And I'm just curious what will happen when the work that we're making lives in a room together and has, you know, sub conversations, look for patterns, look for what's happening. You know, I kind of just want to see what happens. It's
How
not
exciting.
just
How exciting.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah, it's a great program. Those were some of the members of the art mentorship program.
Yeah, these are the folks that are in the program. It's not a requirement for the program. Only folks that had something that really wanted to be in the show were in the show. So it's not everyone. It's folks that really wanted to share work that is coming from the pandemic or comes out of like how sort of their awareness has changed in this era, in this moment. So it's people in the program as well as other people, just artists that I can't stop thinking about. I wonder what they're making. We did a drop off today with the artists, and one of the artists in the show is Alexander Sprouse, and she's just an artist that I just love her work, and I haven't got to have her around me enough. So you know, so I want her to be in the show because I want to see what she's making. You know, like as selfish as that sounds, I want to see. I want to see what it looks like in relationship to what I'm making and what, you know, Ash Arroyo is making. She's the artist that we put her art on the cover of the postcard. She made a comic, you know, so I really love to like, and it's intergenerational. We have people as young as 19 and as old as 75 in this show. So it's really like all these different generations making, talking, engaging with art together. I'm really excited about what's going to happen. It's new, so I haven't seen it yet. But it's fresh. So give me a few weeks to find language. But I'm really excited about sharing it with folks.
David, can I say something?
Please.
Far from that being selfish, I think a genuine interest in what other artists are doing is an open-hearted thing. It's transcending myself. It's like, what else is going on? Because, you know, we're artists. There's an ego involved, and there's a self. How am I? Do you like my stuff? All these things that we go through, but a genuine concern and an interest to really care about the art of another person is real growth. I mean, that's how I think as artists we grow to say, I have my voice and so do others. Am I hearing enough? Am I seeing enough? Am I looking at enough? Am I opening myself up to other voices? And that's how I take art seriously, not just so I can be recognized or do my own, but so I can enter into this larger world of people trying to transform meaning through their particular art form, so it's communicable, so it's understood. And I think it's a real generosity of spirit to be anxious to see what your fellow artists are doing. That impresses me.
Tina's done an amazing job. We're just so proud to have been able to support this program. So thank you, Tina.
Yeah, it's really meaningful. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like how would I get through COVID without this? It's really wonderful to have, even above the mask, like still there's something powerful about eye contact and like seeing like the heart of folks that live here. Like you know, we have some amazing artists in our community. Like one of the people in the show, Sue Grout, she's a national treasure. I believe that to be the case. And just having proximity to her and hearing her talk. We're doing a project with her for this show. She has a couple things going, but for Painting and Sculpture Outpost, we're going to do a window installation called Ambassadors of Peace that I'm really excited about sharing with folks.
There's a blend of her for. Oh, I'm sorry. No, David, go ahead.
No.
There's just with Sue. There's a blend of her photography, that gentle nature photography, and her spirit and who she is.
Yeah.
She captures. There's just so much of Sue in her work, and vice versa. I'm sorry to interrupt, David.
No, please. I was just going to say, Tina. So talk about the idea of the two different locations. Talk about you know, your new branding of 414 Gallery and how you've kind of got it structured in your mind. There are going to be pieces on display there as well as at YubaSutterArts.
Yeah, we're gonna spread out in 2 spaces, which is really exciting. And this is the most ambitious. Like usually, painting and sculpture outpost shows, which is what I've done in the past, have been one artist. Usually, but this is a lot of artists. So this is like the very ambitious in that way. There's a lot of voices, and we want to spread out and give them space. So we'll be putting some work at YubaSutterArts, and I mean I can't even tell you what exactly because I'm still mulling around like the relationships that are going to happen.
Process curating a show.
Yeah.
True.
I was thinking about this today when I was getting work dropped off and just thinking, and I really do feel like this show I'm devoting time and energy to it in a very similar way that I would in artwork. I had my students read this essay, and one of the words they put in there was this bricolage word, which is like this art word that kind of really fits my practice, and it's kind of like using whatever's around. Using what there is. And part of like this show is like about using the artists that are around me. There's so much richness, even just here, just the people that cross my path, the artists that I know about today, which is different than what I will know about in a week or, it's this. So this show is kind of like a sculpture. The things that are around me, I just salvage objects. I pick things up. I put them in relationship. What does it look like next to this? And I'm really thinking about this show kind of like this, and I'm trying really hard to allow it to feel like my art and like but it's like my art becomes relationships, the way that I treat these artists, the way that we organize a drop-off session, what the forms are like, what just really all these silly things, but like almost like a director of like motions of bodies and thinking, and I don't know, it's really interesting. Every person that will look at their art is so many conversations because we talk. What do you want to show? How about this? And I have my opinions about what I want them to show, but it doesn't matter what I think. It depends on what the artist wants. But if I want the art, so I'm kind of playing this game with the artist. Like can I convince them to show what I want them to show? Because really it's up to them. But if let's respect them enough to have a conversation. It's been really, really, really fun.
And I'm guessing that some of the artists may not have been part of a show before. Is that
true?
Some
people, this will be their very first show.
That's huge.
Some people have had many shows. Some people, this is their debut. It's just a mix. One of the cool things that I'm excited about that's happening at YubaSutterArts, if I can get technology to work, which I think I can, is we're going to have a choreographed dance work by a brother and sister that have been working together. Jet filmed the work. Jet Cabigas and Sarah Cabigas choreographed the dances and the star of the dances. So it's like this beautiful film. I just got to watch it today, and I've been hearing about it for weeks and weeks, but I got to see it today. And I'm really, really excited for people to experience like this show. We have things from a comic to a dance, choreographed dance, to paintings, to drawings, to photography, to like this. Sue is also doing this Ambassadors of Peace project, which is very like she's having these cards and people can. She's inviting the public to participate, and people can reserve and get a card. I will send you a card so you can be part of this project and be one of these ambassadors of peace. It's kind of complicated, but I'm really excited for people to experience this broad range of work that people are making here where we are in YubaSutter.
And the dance will be seen again if we can get the technology to work on our big screen TV and the gallery at YubaSutterArts.
Yeah.
So the 2 locations are 414 Gallery, which is really just directly across from the Hart Building, right next door to Sierra Central in Marysville, right on 4th Street.
Right on 4th Street.
And that's the gallery formerly known as Painting and Sculpture Outpost. But is it 414 Gallery? Is that how you're saying it, or just?
It's 414 Gallery. The website is 414gallery.org, and we're in the process of kind of rethinking. I mean, COVID hit and we were trying to run an art gallery in Marysville. So you can imagine how that went. It was hard. So we kind of are rethinking it and trying to imagine a co-op model. How can we stay and keep this art here? So 414 is me and the building owner, Kelly, sort of thinking about and creating a new plan of attack for how to keep this an art space for Marysville.
Exciting.
And Painting and Sculpture Outpost is going to continue to program things through the windows, but we're a tenant and a member of the co-op 414 Gallery. Does that make more sense?
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
And then
Kelly is my cousin, by the way.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Kelly is amazing.
She's great. Kelly Ridge Creek.
Great.
Give a nod out to Kelly.
Former YubaSutterArts board member and great supporter of the arts in the community. So thank you, Kelly. So then some of the work will also be at YubaSutter Arts Gallery, 624 E Street, just really a couple of blocks over. So it'll be a great event. And we're trying to have an actual opening reception before we went into the purple haze, and we all got shut down. So there will be some of you watching may have seen notices about an actual reception next Saturday. That's not happening, but there'll be an opportunity to make an appointment. We'll let you know the details on that. So just, stay tuned, and we want you to see this amazing body of work. So any thoughts, Tina? We haven't talked about this, for putting together some kind of a virtual gallery tour, video of some sort, or you want people to come in and see it in person?
I would love to do some work trying to figure out how to make it accessible, the show more accessible online. I would love to do things like videos with the artists, things that you're really good at doing, and partner on that and try to figure out how to get the artist's stories out in a lot of different ways. Yes, I'm totally open to that.
Series of individual interviews on site with some artists. Okay.
We're still this is so fresh, it's not up yet. I just got the art today.
Throw that into the idea box and think about it. So
I definitely am interested in trying to figure out how to make this more open for folks that can't see it in person. I do hope some can see it in person, but we'll try to do both. And I am going to have a catalog available, so there'll be something you can download and pick up and take home with you in the galleries as well. But again, I'm not ready today, but sometime.
No pressure. All right. Well, shifting gears abruptly, Joe, talk about COVID stories and what's coming up that you and Tom have cooked up, and some other artists.
Yeah, I've got some friends that jumped in to help. It all started with me rewriting popular songs to fit the COVID situation. Some of the stuff amused me, like the lack of toilet paper and among other things. And they took
not
off
always
on
amusing.
Facebook.
That's not always amusing, Joe.
No,
sorry.
I found it amusing. I was how long can you go on 1,000 rolls of toilet paper? Honestly, I don't know. But Tom and I batted around the idea of putting together a show of them, featuring them. We're going to use a mixture of videos, the original videos that I posted on Facebook back in April, along with a couple friends, including Tom and Gay, have sang the parody for me, and we recorded those as well. And Tom and I are going to do some live ones. Tom's going to do 2 of them. One of them, the Bee Gees number, "I Started to Cough." So I rewrote "I Started a Joke," that classic Bee Gees tune, till "I Started to Cough," because it was allergy season at the time. And when Tom heard that one, he was immediately enamored.
Good choice.
It was a light thing. I thought Joe's trying to do a light thing and working his tail off doing it, because these things were popping up on Facebook once a week, and I write songs too, and I write satire, and I know it's hard sometimes to see the humor in certain things, but I just thought this is a noble effort, so I wanted to support it and be part of it. And it's fun. It's brief. Now I find out it's really brief.
Yeah. It's only going to be a little half-hour show.
Hey.
And
kind of
there's
like
going to be subtitles.
Popcorn,
Coke and popcorn are gone before the last. But did you get the subtitles?
Yeah.
Is it?
I'm still working on that. I think that's a technical issue that I'm hoping. I've got some David's techies are going to help me on it. And even if they're not there, you can still understand it and stuff. And it is a laugh. You will laugh at least once. I can promise. At least once you will laugh.
Yeah, come on. We pride ourselves on our high production values at YubaSutterArts&Culture. So,
one good laugh every 33 minutes isn't bad.
Yeah. But it's all music, or is there actually spoken word humor as well, or?
Well,
Any?
there's going to be Tom and I are going to host it live, so there will be spoken words.
Okay.
In fact, we're gonna, we actually try and be a humorous, or at least tie some of the bits together to give you a timeline of where we're at. I try and throw in there a little bit of when it was written and what was going on at that time, because I mean, the pandemic, when it first started, there were certain like road marks, the TP being one of them. I mean, who knew that a pandemic would cause a shortage of toilet paper? I didn't. And so that was one of them. And then there was that time where I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks in, where I suddenly started noticing some of my married male friends were complaining that their wives were being unjust, because they were expecting them to actually get up off the couch and do the dishes and fold laundry and stuff. And so there was this little bit of a kind of semi-Me Too movement in the fact that I'm not the only one that does housework here, Jones. And so I wrote a song about that as well. And the viral thing is what really, I think, made me realize that I'd struck a nerve with the comedy, because the first one was up over 3,000 hits the last time I saw it. And that's without a doubt the biggest thing I've ever done on Facebook that I know of.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
I've always done comedy when I used to play in the bars after I loved bands. With a band, you've got 7-piece band, and so you rule. But when you're a soloist, when the bands all break up and you're a soloist, you go into some place where everybody's drinking and talking. And I found that comedy, instead of burying my soul, I could sing my more serious things if I had 3 or 4 comedy things to throw in. And so now, I do the weird news whenever we have a show, and I make up some hopefully funny thing. But after the George Floyd thing, I wrote 5 songs. Tina, you were on our show, and you said you had spent a weekend just creating art, and I had done the same thing with a song cycle that was very, very serious, because I was emotionally drawn to that whole event. It just felt like I had to get it out. So it was shortly after that I was tuning into, around the same time I was tuning into what Joe was doing. And I thought, oh, well, somebody's still doing comedy. So, I'm not, so maybe I can hop onto this. And so it was kind of therapeutic for me to do that, to say, okay, what's funny in all this? Because so many things in the world for the last 6 months have not been funny to me. And my satire faucet had seemed to be turned off. And so it was a lighthearted thing. And I was really happy to be a part of it. And I'm sure the other performers who are involved were happy to be a part of it as well.
Yeah, some musical friends. Rick McFall, he's a bass player and well known in the bars and stuff as one of our local musicians. Has been in a number of bands. He agreed to help. Kelly Barber Cunningham, Kelly. She actually, I did a patriotic song. I rewrote that one, and she sang that one for me.
Oh, fun.
I do have to admit, I had Pinky Redu, Ed Hudson, and a couple other people, but this was the advent of StreamYard, and I was just learning how to use it. I have an account for my Sideshow Joe thing. Yeah. And I'm an old guy. I'm an old guy when it comes to tech stuff, and I've lost the videos, and a couple of them are kind of corrupted, and I'm not able to use them. So, but Ed, Tom and I are talking about if this actually strikes a chord again, we're gonna try and do part 2. So, since the pandemic.
We want the world to open back up as soon as possible. So we hope there's not a part 2, but we're going to, the attempt is to keep something light going on in hard times. Yeah. And I think Joe's attempt to write these songs is exactly that. What can make us smile here? It's they're just
I'm not poking.
You can talk about laughter. You can go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. They were only written to make people laugh. I'm not trying to make any political agenda or any agenda at all. Honestly, a lot of times the way they come out is because that word rhymed with that other word. And so there's, I do write contemporary music like Tom does as well. And I do have some songs that are from the more painful part of my life and stuff, and the hurt and all that stuff. But yeah, this was totally for a joke, you know, a little nudge in the ribs and a little
Right.
chuckle.
Oh, fantastic. Can't wait. And when do we get to see this? Is it this weekend?
Sunday night, yeah.
Sunday, December 6th, 7 p.m. And it'll be streamed
7
live.
p.m. So
live on
yes,
YubaSutterArts&Culture.
indeed, right here on Art and Culture.
That's right. KYS. Right? And it'll also be on our YouTube channel, so we can stream simultaneously both. If you miss the live performance Sunday evening, you can come back to it anytime on Facebook or YubaSutterArts again at our YouTube channel. So it'll be accessible for you. So we're really, really excited about that. So what are you, once we get through these crazy times, and we know we're probably still in for a couple of months anyway, right? What are you most looking forward to, or what's one of the first things you'll do, whether artistically or just in terms of life and living, and anything that you're like counting down the minutes until you can do X again?
Mary Poppins.
Oh yeah, that was right. It was scheduled at the.
It was scheduled for. The acting company was going to do it this year, and it got canceled, so they pushed it to next year. And a lot of my favorite people in the world were planning on auditioning, so I was gonna do that too. And so.
Oh darn. Tom, you got a wish
Tom,
list?
what are you looking for?
I'm next. Okay, I was waiting for what Tina's future here,
Sure.
but I'll go next. You know, we started to assemble a band for the Bob Dylan show that we did. Joe was a part of that show, and it was an homage to Bob's music. I call him Bob. An homage to Dylan's, to Dylan's music. And we were all set to go. The band was assembled and everything, and then COVID hit. So I would like to. There's some ongoing things I do. I do these tributes to particular songwriters, but I also have done shows at the theater. We did the biggest hits of the 20th century, and every decade we took the two top selling songs of that decade for whatever that is, 10 times 20 songs, I guess. I don't know, but with the history, video, pictures of the wigs that had to do with Yankee Doodle Dandy or whatever. We do these theme shows. We sing along, but it's
PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, right. It's not just follow the red rubber ball. It's not just, it's that. Yeah, we want you to sing. We want that to be fun. We want your vagus nerve to stimulate with the music, but we want to tell a story. We want there to be a narrative, and we want it to be cool. You know, we want it to be whatever the form of music is. It might be something that's 70 years before your time, but there's information here, and there's a connection between this song and current music. And so we want it to be informative, visually fun. We want you to sing and have it. I want to get those kinds of things going again at the theater, David, because we did a lot of production, some productions that I think success or failure, they were interesting attempts to not just get up and sing your songs, but to think of songwriting as a whole, and to respect centuries of songwriters and what they've done, and why somebody like Dylan would win the Nobel Prize, why troubadours have things to say, and why I remember more life-changing lines from songs growing up than I do from poems, as much as I like both. I think songwriting is powerful and affects a lot of people. So as I get older, and I am old, but I'm trying to respect this area that I've been working in for a long time, and learn more about these other people that have been as obsessed as I am with songwriting. So I want to get more of that going in the studio, in the theater, if you're up.
And it's hard to recreate that kind of an experience virtually.
Very much so.
As we try, and we love these different platforms, and we've done our best, but you can't beat that live.
Yeah, I was proud of the Dylan show, but it could have been so much better had we had the full band and everything. So yeah, next year.
Yeah,
you know, we've got the greatest minds in the world of science trying to find a cure, and they will. So enough for me. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, Tina. Can't wait to. Again.
I can't wait to be back in the classroom and have that be a real, like, face-to-face art teaching experience. I believe that we can learn online, and there's ways that online can do lots for art education, but there's so much we miss. Teaching drawing and trying to do that online, it's not the same. And just teaching in general and being with your students. Earlier, Joe, you're kind of talking about like reading the room. Like as an introvert, I rely desperately on the faces of my students to like gauge and like get a sense of what I'm doing, to like be able to do it in a sense. And you look at a Zoom screen and it's you can't make eye contact.
Mhm.
I cannot wait until teaching can return to what it was meant. Art, especially art teaching. That's what I know. When that can be in person again, I just cannot wait.
Remind us what levels you're teaching this year.
I consider the mentorship program part of my teaching.
Yeah, absolutely.
19 to 75.
Yeah, I love that.
And then also I teach college, so I'm working with university age students, and we actually have quite a mix. We have many non-traditional students from different backgrounds and stuff. So it's a mix of age groups, but 18 up.
On up to
yeah.
And you got Joe at the other end of the spectrum with 0 to 5-year-olds. It's like pretty
That's
amazing.
my peeps.
Oh my God, I love it. Absolutely love it. Oh, and I know we can all agree that hey, we've done what we've had to do to survive, and now let's get back to something else.
I think that Gay, what you're describing with art, Gay's been teaching piano online.
Oh, right.
And to have somebody in your home and be able to look at their hands on the keys, to see what they're doing, to see what their posture is, to see what their alignment is in terms of how they're not forming bad habits at 7 years old that will haunt them when they're 70 years old. All that stuff is thrown out the window. So she's teaching every day and she's struggling. It's just real hard. Her job is probably 3 times harder. I don't know if that resonates with you, Tina, but yeah, I really admire the visual artists who are teaching, or any artists, the music, visual, and teaching online when touch and feel and social proximity and just the need to be body on body, person on person is absent, and you're still trying to convey the same information. Very difficult, very challenging. So hats off to you and to her and to all these people that are trying to convey information online, Sideshow Joe, whatever it may be. It's very, very difficult. And it's, your work has increased greatly. So thank you.
The art teachers are shout out to all of the art teachers. My husband Joe's an art teacher. Alexander Sprouse is an art teacher. I mean, there's so many of them, and they're working so hard, and they're not compensated for all this extra work. We're doing our best in a difficult situation, but yay for when we can return to what art education should be.
Yes.
And piano and all these art forms.
I was saddened this week to see that the acting company had to cancel their Magic Theater youth acting classes. They were trying to do it safely and masking and keeping the kids' distance, but they finally had to pull the plug with the purple haze that's cast over us, and we just have to move forward. So another one bites the dust here in the meantime. So that was kind of sad.
I'm respectful of what they're doing here. People are dying. We've had 3 deaths in this country. There's 100,000 people here, and we're numbering 3 figures a day now, getting close to 3 figures a day. So whatever has to happen, whatever sacrifices we have to make, with all due respect, and I don't mean to minimize the damage done to workers and to businesses, small businesses, but boy, this is a killer. And so I get it. I mean, I get that we have to go inside, but we have to keep creating, and we have to keep sharing our creations somehow with whatever technology we have. At the same time that we respect the need to close things down, to isolate. Very hard times for all of us, but artists more than ever are needed to connect people, to pull us together, to use this common experience that's really uniting the whole wide world, whether we wear masks or not. We're all in this together.
Introverts and extroverts alike.
And so we still play a role in being the glue that holds people together. Very, very hard times though. Very dangerous times.
Yeah.
Great point. Let me just throw one more at you here before we wrap it up. So looking ahead to sometime next year, hopefully, and some return to some semblance of normalcy. So what is our community, Yuba Sutter? What is it? What would you like to see happen in terms of art in our community that would maybe really make a difference? What don't we have that we should have, or what do we have a little bit of that we need more of? Anybody want to jump into something like that? What's missing here? What could we work on and pull out the magic wand and make something occur that would really feed our souls, our artistic souls? Any thoughts?
Well, there was a couple of shows in the past. Fotine Halis Kopriva used to do the Masquerade Ball, which was it featured artists. Well, yeah, it went on for several years, and it was basically a masquerade ball. But
wow.
We had we decorated the Bonanza was one of the places, and we had dancers featured. We had musicians and a couple other things. So it was, and then there was drinks and dancing and a DJ after. And then there was way off Broadway. You remember that one as well?
No, that was just before they quit. Just before I got here, but I've heard a lot about it.
Right. Well, it also featured, it was a big to-do, and it featured all of the local groups. There was all the dance troupes were there, all of the. There was a couple musicians, and then all of the theater groups would put on one or two of their best numbers. And so it gave the regular populace a place to go and see a lot at once.
Yeah.
And
okay.
That's what I'd like to see.
Okay.
A lot at once.
So noted. Tom or Tina, you want to throw one out there that you'd like to see that's missing?
Tina, please. You go ahead.
I mean, really, I just think there just needs to be more. Like every time I hear about new art things happening, I just think, yay. I mean, we need more voices, a mix of new voices, of different types of voices. We're not competing. We're all just making the story more rich and more important. And I guess one of the things my thing that I think we need more of in our particular community is we need more support. And that means money for artists, directly to artists. Artists need to be paid. This is a time when we're struggling. We're barely surviving. We're stuck in our homes. And I think maybe that there's something good about that, because it reminds us of that. We can meaningfully live with objects better. We could do better at this. And let's think about what's around us on the walls. And why would we go to Bed Bath & Beyond when we can go to an art show and give that $80 to a young artist? That will change their life. Mm-hmm. And I guess I want to see the community start to engage deeper with like living meaningfully by supporting artists directly and trying to put money behind these sentiments that we hold. I think people think they understand art and they know about art and they care about art, but they're not paying for it. And I want to see that. I mean, that's not a scolding, really. I mean, I'm talking to myself too. I need to do that too. So what can I do? How can I support these artists in a way that will actually help them pay their bills? Because this is a service we're offering that's worth something. This is not, I'm not just because I'm an artist, that doesn't mean I'm going to do a bunch of stuff for free for you. Value what I do. You're consuming it. You're taking it on Netflix. You're taking it everywhere. It's getting you through this time. So I'd really love to see artists supported financially by our community. And I'd like to just see more voices enter into the conversation.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
Take us home, Tom.
I can't add to that. I mean, that's absolutely correct. David, thanks to you and Abby, though, I think that there's a real fulsome, real active art scene. Not thanks to many artists, but I think you and Abby are doing so much to make this a viable and vital art community, even in the midst of all this. I just wanted to point that out. Like Tina said, it can always grow. Alexander Pope said the only proper response to poetry is more poetry, and we need to support artists. And so thank you for listening to us, and I totally pay for us, give us money for what we do.
It's Giving Tuesday. Let's support the arts.
There you go.
We got Yuba Sutter Arts. You can support Painting and Sculpture Outpost and our mentorship program by supporting Yuba Sutter Arts, and tell them you want to give the money to us. I will take it and I will spend it on these artists.
We can designate funds for specific purposes.
Yes, support the arts here.
All right. Yes, well, thank you so much, Joe and Tom, for sharing your incredible insights. This has really been a great conversation, and I knew it would be, and you all delivered. So thank you. Stay safe and be well. We want to thank our technical team, producer Abby Cecina, technical directors Alex Cecina and Shante Arroyo. Until next time, that's for Artist Alchemy. Tune in this Sunday for Art Radio Today with Tom Galvin, Joe Moye, and yours truly, when our special guest will be musician Frank Sorgia. So we'll see you right here next week, though, with not one, not two, but again, 3 special guests. You'll get to see the entire YubaSutterArts&Culture team, Abby, Sue, Shante, and me. And we'll talk about the year ahead and some of the neat things we have planned for 2021. Golly. Keep in touch, YubaSutterArts on Facebook, YouTube, YubaSutterArts.org is the website. Lots going on. Let us know what you like, what you don't like. Any ideas, bring them forth. Now's the time as we plan for the next year. Take care and be well. Thanks so much.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you.